your entire life is built on experiencing things that are teaching you what you want more of or what you learned you want something different of. But
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that you have to always go restart somewhere else. And one of the big times that they try and tell us we have to restart is infidelity. And we've brought it up a few times, but we haven't really talked about it. And my story did have infidelity in it. And I chose to forgive him and choose to try and work on it. And I think that that is it's one of the black and white rules that society will tell you if this happens in a relationship, then you have to walk away or you don't value yourself.
Welcome to LoveliEsteem. I'm Lovely, the auntie you always wanted, the sister girlfriend you didn't know you needed, honey. You got to have self-love to have self-esteem. And here we know that God don't make no junk. So we're going to sit down, talk about it, and see how we can fix it, baby. Let's do it. Hi, guys. This is Lovely with LoveliEsteem, and welcome back to the Healing Through Conversations podcast. Today we have a really good guest. We have Miss Erica Bennett. She is the host of the Crazy Ex-Wives podcast. She also helps with transformative coaching. She helps women who are going through either a tough time, going through transition, separations, divorce, infidelity. And she really is trying to get us to a place where we understand that divorce is not death, infidelity is not the end, and the separation sometimes gives you a chance to take a deep breath and create new boundaries. I'm so excited to have a conversation about this because I feel like we have such a stigma around relationships, and we make the assumption that every time something bad happens, you're supposed to leave. But if you leave, how are you fixing the shit? How are you learning anything from that relationship or the problems that you've had in that relationship? I'm not saying stay, but I'm saying learn how to heal, learn the lesson so that the next relationship you get into, if you decide to go into a new relationship, it can be closer to what you're looking for versus the hell that we allow ourselves to be in. So enjoy the podcast. All right. I was just saying. Hey guys, this is Lovely with LoveliEsteem, and welcome back to the Healing Through Conversation podcast. I'm excited today because I think sometimes we have this idea that talking about divorce and redirecting your life, infidelity, it's considered like a hush hush. It's such a stigma attached to it. And a lot of us go through it. A lot of people go through these life altering things, and it doesn't make us any different. And it changes who you are characteristically sometimes, but it also depends on what tribe you have with you or what kind of access you have attached to you and the people that you're following. And I think that when we're talking about life changing events that happen in your life, it should be that's the time you need to be the most honest, the most open. You need a tribe around you, a group around you, a coach around you, a mentor around you, somebody who can really talk to you. And I feel like that's where Miss Erica Bennett steps in, because sometimes it takes you going through things to be able to teach others. Like there are some things that happen in life that you can teach because you learned it in a paper, but then there are times where you have to go through it. Welcome to the podcast, Miss Erica. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, hello. Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about those same topics as well because they're so taboo, right? I mean, look at society. It's like if you were the cheater, you're wrong. And if you got cheated on, how dare you forgive him? How dare you choose to try and work through it? I mean, and it's the time when you need so much support, so much support. So, okay, before we get too deep into that, my name's Erica. I run the Crazy Ex-Wives Club. It is a podcast and a community helping women not feel crazy from all the emotions of divorce. So, whether you are separated, contemplating divorce, whether you are fully divorced, this is a space for you to show up and to be seen, to be heard, and to know that you're not alone. Stories from other women going through it. I found a lot of growth through alternative healing practices, so much more than talk therapy. And the goal is to shed light on all those other ways that we need to heal as women. Because once we own our healing and you own your emotions, they don't own you. you
Mhm.
can do whatever you want in life because you become unconditional on any of the things that are going on around you. So you can find me at thecrazyexwivesclub.com and all the social handles under the same name. But I would just love to have you there. If you're struggling, you're trying to heal what broke from a relationship or from marriage, you need to come join the club.
She said, come on over because we have them. We got the good, the bad, the crying, the not crying, the laughing. I like the hysterical laugh when you're like, are you crying or are you laughing? That place right there in between. Oh, that's a good pocket because you never know. Is it volatile?
Right?
Is she just going to laugh? I don't know. I
You
don't
don't
know.
know, right?
I
And
don't.
even when I'm in it, I'm like, oh, you guys, it's getting close. You can like feel the wave. You're right in the top. I talk about right in the top of the wave, right? I'm right in the top of the wave of the emotion. But if I just go a little too fast, I just right from laughing into hysterical crying. But it feels delightful at the end once you get it all out.
Yes, because
So
and I think that's one of the best parts of releasing a lot of that tension and energy that you have in you using your body, right? Dancing, screaming, yoga, whatever, meditation. I'm huge into meditation, but not meditating the way people see on TV, like not just sitting on the floor with my hands together. No, 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 no. Doing your makeup, listening to music. You may be one of those people where shopping is your meditation, not an addiction. Listen, peeps, different conversation. But
I had that addiction. But anyways,
but I'm just saying, like, meditation looks so different on everybody. Healing looks different on everybody. And I know that when you go
yeah,
through something like divorce, which is life altering and life changing, you are not the same person that you were prior to going through that. And I wish that we had more conversations about how you have to stop telling people it's going to go back to normal. It's not. You have a new normal that we should really be open to talking about.
absolutely. And I think that meditation is one of those big pieces. I worked for a lifestyle brand, big beauty brand. We're all about lifestyle and wellness. I would teach meditation classes. And I remember, working with one of my coworkers who was a certified meditation instructor, and I was trying to get into it. And the more I meditated, the more crazy I felt. The more the voices in my head had taken over, the more I couldn't find they say, quote unquote, stop the thoughts. Just stop the thoughts and sit there. Well, that I felt like I was losing my mind. And so in my divorce process, that's where I found the way that I needed to meditate, which was more along the lines of visualizing, or I put in a favorite playlist or
Mm-hmm.
some speaker to listen to, and I go for a walk. But
Mm-hmm.
that right, left, right, the bilateral stimulation, your yoga stretching, you're working out, you're going for a walk, it's helping your body release the stuff that's stuck. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that we have to sit on a cushion. It doesn't mean that we have to be quiet. You just have to find the place and the way you
Mm-hmm.
can let the ish go. Put it on the shelf for a little bit and just be at peace with who you are in that very present moment, whether it's 3 minutes or 30 minutes. It's just find the tool to help you hold space to love who you are right now. That's all meditation is.
I love that because that's really big with me, right? So when I first started learning how to meditate, exactly, I would be like, why is the train louder? I mean, it's like woo, 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 woo. And now I'm like, what are we doing here? And now then it makes you feel like you're doing something wrong because TV says, the video says it should be quiet. And the truth is, if you're going through something like divorce, infidelity, or problems within your relationship or your marriage, nothing's quiet. Everything is happening all at the same time while you're trying to keep everything moving at the same time. That's not a quiet thing. And so learning how to heal in the way that works best for you is one of the most revolutionary things you'll ever do. It's one of the best ways to change your life moving forward, even in general, even if you're not going through a divorce or infidelity, but like learning how to heal on your own time and in your own accord.
Yeah, and know that you're going to go through seasons. If you're going through a big transformation, so whether that's a divorce, a breakup, a new job, if you're shifting jobs, if you've relocated to a new city or a new state, those big transitions create a new season in your life.
Mhm.
For most of us, if you've got kids, I've got a 13-year-old, we're about to move into the school season. That runs a completely different setup in my life than the summer does, which means even last year, 2 years ago, my rituals for self-care were weightlifting and aggressive hiking and go, go, go. And somewhere in the last year, my body's like, I don't want that anymore. I want peacefulness. I want breath work activities. I want yoga activities. So allow it to change. Find
Mhm.
find your thing. There is no shame in streaming guided meditations. I still do them because
I still do that.
it helps me check out. It helps me stop my overactive thought process. So put it on, start listening to it, and then allow yourself to float wherever you're going to go. Just know that you can always change it. And you'll know, here's the thing. In your relationship, in your self-care, in your meditation, you'll know you need to change it when it all of a sudden feels like work instead of something that you're excited that you get to go do.
T-shirt. There's always t-shirt moments for me. T-shirts, t-shirts. Because I think in our world, we make the assumption that I always tell people, I said, I'm past struggle love, right? I'm past the space in my life where I feel like I need to struggle in order for acceptance, struggle in order to, be liked, struggle. I just don't. Sometimes you just have to learn that this space isn't for me and it's okay to move on. It doesn't make it better or worse. It just means that you can know the energy in this space no longer fits the energy in your space, and you get to find a new place to go. And I think that's very specific when you're talking about marriage, right? Because I've been with my husband since 1990.
Mhm.
1990, people. I was 14. And and the assumption that marriage is always good, I don't even know who told y'all that. Like that was a lie. And that you're always on the same page, that's a lie. And if you ever meet anybody who says we never fight, there's a lot of conflict happening in that relationship. It's just quiet.
Yeah, and it's never the same person. Something
Yes.
that comes up a lot when I'm working with these women in transition. So they're separated or they're contemplating leaving their marriage, and there is this idea, the movies have created it for us, that we can just start over, right? That this person is supposed to be the same forever, and if you don't like who they are right now, well then you got to go somewhere else. And the reality is whether you stay in the marriage or whether you leave the marriage, the person that's on the other side of it will be somebody else about every 10 years. Just like you are going to be somebody else every 10 years. You're different in your 20s to your 30s to your 40s, and it's based on what you learn. And so this concept that, oh, it's if I find the right one, if I find my soulmate, it will be so easy, becomes incredibly toxic, especially for women who are trying to find love again after divorce. When you
Mm.
have a little PTSD from what went down, when you no longer trust yourself to make the right decisions, when you've self abandoned and you didn't hold your boundaries and you lost yourself for the relationship, and then they're trying to tell you, well, it should just be easy. It should just flow. It's gonna have hiccups. It is. And that's not necessarily because of them, but it's the dynamic that the two of you bring together. A relationship is a mirror. It is there to show you the pieces in your own life that you are being called to change or adapt or embrace or heal. And so that person is showing you that opportunity. A lot of times we're cleaning up our side of the street. Your
Hmm.
relationship is struggling. My relationship was struggling. My marriage was struggling. I was unhappy. I was trying to control all the details. Now I had a small child. My father had passed away. I worked a full-time corporate job. I was trying to be the best Pinterest mother I could be and make all the homemade felt crafts that I could get my hands on while doing 30 days of freezer cooking, right? I was trying to do all the things. So I was
That's
overwhelmed and I was crabby and I was controlling. I had to clean up my own stuff. I was projecting that my then husband should always pick me. He should always love me no matter how I show up. And if he just did the things I told him to do, my life would be easier. So how dare he get in the way of what I want? That's my own worthiness wounds. That's my own deciding where do I want to spend my time? Back to your
Mm.
point of like divorce was the most beautiful gift of cleaning up places that I was wasting my time. You've got to clean your own mess up first, or you take it to the next. You blame the other person. You stay in a victim mentality,
Hmm.
which just gives you another victim mentality to walk into.
Yes, I love that. And what I always tell people, because I always use I statements. I'm huge on I statements. So my marriage, when people see my husband and I together, you guys are so amazing. I wish, and I tell people all the time, it's like wishing you could sing like someone. Do you want the life attached to the voice, right? Marriage, divorce, infidelity, all of these different aspects of being human, because that's what it is. It's all these different aspects of being human come with plus and minuses.
Mhm.
And I've been married, but I can promise you that I've been through just as much within the marriage. And it's how you see the marriage, what you're looking for, what you're trying to accomplish. Are you looking for like the Pinterest? Or do you guys really want to heal? Did you realize that you were broken and you were broken within the marriage and then you decided you wanted to fix the marriage? Or did you realize that my self-worth will not improve in this marriage? I have to get out of this space in order to become a better person for me so that I can mirror to someone else what I want in my life. And I love that, the mirror.
Yeah. And you think about it, when you first meet somebody and you first fall in love and everything is delightful, you don't have a lot of responsibility and you have a lot of fun, and you're your best self. Typically, right? You're well slept, you're well fed, you're doing your workout rituals, you got your own time, and you meet somebody, and we topple into the, oh my gosh, how do I fit this new thing in, this new
Mm-hmm.
responsibility in? And if it continues to go well, you add more. You add a dog, you add a house, you add some kids, and you lose the fact that you used to be complete on your own. So I talk about this, we are so wrong in the world to think that you complete me, that I'm a 50 and you're a 50 and together we're 100%. When you
No.
started your relationship, you were each 100% and you were a multiplier, right? Synergy is 1 + 1 = 3, but you
Mm-hmm.
were a multiplier, 100 times 100. You were 1,000. You could accomplish anything you wanted. Well, then somewhere in the relationship, you became a 90 and I became an 80 and then we became 60s. And now we're not multiplying. We're actually draining each other because, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, I'm at 60. I need to take some of yours to fill me back up to 100 so I can feel good again. If we each own the fact that it's our job to keep ourselves at 100, and again, we're not going to stay there consistently.
Mm-hmm.
But if I know right now, I've now been in a committed relationship for 3 years. There are times in those 3 years where I have felt myself get needy again. I need his reassurance. I'm worked too hard today. I'm exhausted and I want the quick fix of him helping me feel better. When I do that and I put that pressure on the relationship, he's pulls away. Wait a
Yep.
second.
Yep.
This feels needy. This feels demanding. Then I get needier. And then I go, "Oh, you know how to fix this. I have to fix this. So go do the thing that fills you up. Is it go for a walk? Is it go to the gym? Is it take myself out to coffee? Is it take a nap? What do
Naps are
I
beautiful.
need? Oh my
Naps are
God, naps
beautiful.
were that
Mm.
was my
It's my
healing
hobby
grace.
now.
Woo, every day. I cannot stress enough. 3 o'clock. When you want to grab that candy or that coffee or that whatever, you need to take a 15-minute check out nap, even if you don't fall asleep on the couch. Check out 15 minutes. But the truth is that I had to learn how to fix myself and stop expecting it from a partner. So now, I'm not at 100. It's my job to get me back to 100. And if he's in a good mood, maybe he can help, but it's not his responsibility. It's mine. And it's
I,
his responsibility to own his ish because I don't want to be responsible for his happiness either.
I love that. And it was I used to, when people be like, happy wife, happy life. I'm no, happy spouse, happy house. Listen, we
Yeah.
both have to be so tuned in. And sometimes it is maturity, sometimes it's wisdom. Sometimes it takes you to have gone through a couple of things to realize and identify what you're doing in your life that's causing you to feel depleted. Because sometimes we're these people pleasers. If you're pleasing everybody outside the house, you are depleting yourself. We
Yes.
have to fill our cup up. Your partner whoever it is, him, her, them, they, if they had a great day because they knew when to say no, and you come home with your yes self, you can't expect them to understand what you're going through at that moment. And when we exchange, it's like even your best friend will call you out on your ish in a heartbeat. Why did you say yes? But when your partner does it, you're like, why would you be so mean to me?
Yeah.
Now look at me.
Right. And the reality is that for men and women, men are much better at just saying no. You know, I even watched my 13-year-old son. I'll be like, well, why didn't you explain why you couldn't talk on the phone or play the video game with your friend? You know, the cousin will call or something like, hey, can you play, whatever with me online? And he'll just be like, no. And I'm like, oh, my female heart is like, I have to tell you why. This is not about your worthiness. I just can't do it. And a guy is just like, nah, I can't. And there's a zero F's given. I don't know. Can we swear on this?
Oh, hell
Forgot
yeah.
to ask
I'm
before.
sorry. I
Okay.
mean, look, I try
Zero.
my best to, I try to, wait a minute, very, what they say right now, very demure, very, very ladylike is what I try to do.
Proper.
But, whoo, F is
Yeah,
my
but zero
favorite
fucks
word.
given. Zero fucks given. They have no
Yes.
problem. That was a hard lesson for me. I thought that I created my worthiness by what I could do for you, which meant I always took more on, which meant that I was
Mm,
always trying to love him into being a better person, right?
mm.
Instead of saying like, "Hey, I'm really tired today. I worked too hard. I know I did that to myself, but now I can't give anymore. I don't have any more gives. So I need to go away. I'm going to read a book or take a bath or do whatever. I'm going to take care of me because I don't want to dump this on you."
I love that. And see, I have 2 girls, 1 boy. And I taught my girl, say no.
Yeah.
Before you say yes, say no. Not because I said, and really what no is the pause so that you can decide if it's really what you want to do. I said, because all of us, we get excited when we're outside. That one day when we decided to go to the party, we see all the people. It's so much fun. They're having fun. We're booking brunches 4 weeks out in advance. And then the day the brunch comes, you go, I would not really want to do this. I don't want to do this. And it's the same thing in your relationships, right? Like, yes, you when we are together, we're trying to make sure that each person feels connected. Whatever love you want to use, love language, the energy, your vibe, whatever that thing is. But I've learned in my personal relationship that authenticity is the only way that this works out. And I always tell people, I'm like, we've been together almost 35 years, and the last 10 years have been good. That wild west prior to, and I'm not saying that the time before that wasn't, we had good times, but because we weren't mature enough to articulate our emotions, to comprehend the conversations, to have great communicative conversations, and also to realize that it wasn't our responsibility to fix each other. But I think that's in your 20s, you're so young, you just, we're people pleasing for 10.99. What's the 5 for 5? For $5, we were gonna give you 5 things.
Well, for me, it was because I was so desperate to find my place of belonging,
Mm,
So you get to your 20s, you get to college or you get to, your job or whatever you're doing in your 20s, and you're like, where are my people? I have to find my people. And I became a chameleon to fit into the people that were around. I was
mhm.
working on cars, working in an auto body shop and rebuilding engines for a while I also worked in a beauty store and did makeup for brides. Like, how opposite of the two worlds can you get? But it was, who do I need to be? And I loved each of those interests and each of those groups. But I learned that the ones that really were me, and not just it's fun to belong, the ones that were me were the ones that I kept, whether or not I did it with somebody else.
Yes, yes.
So if I picked up a hobby or an interest because other people were doing it and I liked talking to them, that wasn't because I really liked the thing. I do actually really like sanding down paint on cars. It's meditation for me. It's like get in the flow because you just have to feel it and go with
Mhm.
it. But I'm not rebuilding engines. I'm not, out there with the monkey wrench and whatever else. And that part passed, but it was really supportive and wonderful for me in college when I was doing that. I think that was the other blessing of 2020 if we're allowed to even say that 2020 gave us good things, I loved 2020. Now,
Look,
there's a lot of shit in a 2020,
yeah, 2020 is
but
it's a big
it
bowl of crazy.
and it's how there was a lot we couldn't control,
Yes,
right? A ton.
yes,
In
yes.
our house, could work from home. We were completely shut down. My ex-husband and his fiance, she was a COVID nurse and he worked in retail that stayed open. You're
Wow.
talking about sending a kid back and forth between like the highest risk and the lowest risk locations. There was a lot of things I couldn't control. And my
Mhm.
anxiety was growing again. And I had to return to the practices of turn it over, right? What can I find joy in? So my kid's home with me every day. We had lunch every day together and we unloaded the dishwasher together and it was talk time and it became a new habit of thing we cleaned the bathroom together. Things that we started to do. The other blessing was when we opened back up and I got to go back out and socialize again, I would come home exhausted
Mhm.
because I had had a pause to realize what it felt like to be well rested and well fed, bored, but overall relatively happy. And then I'd go out and I'd be exhausted because it wasn't an energetic match for what I really wanted. So
Mhm.
then, just like in divorce, wipe the slate clean and one at a time, test those things back out. So, if you are a serial, yes, I'll go do it to the brunch requests, when you get home from that brunch, really sit there for a few minutes in your car before you come into the partner or the kids or the whatever else. Sit in your car and ask yourself, do I feel good or do I feel exhausted? Did this recharge me and I'm feeling good? Or am I sitting there like, oh my God, I have to go into the house now. And now the work starts. I
Part
have to figure
three.
out
Part
dinner and
three. Yeah.
figure out the work. That's
Yeah.
gonna tell you real fast if that experience was actually aligning with your inner needs or if you were seeking external validation or support to feel good. And if you're seeking it externally, when that thing is gone, you're gonna be exhausted.
Yes, I love that. And I will say for me, what 2020 did for me, it reset my it not only reset my energy, it reset my synergy, right? So the what I was able to send out, and it gave me such great boundaries because it made it so that one, it was one of the most devastating times because no matter who you are, what you believe, losing people and loving people and not being able to be with them when they're going through that kind of grief and
Yes.
and the disappointment that happens in your who you like your shame that you attach to yourself when it has nothing to do with you, but when you can't control the situation, that's what we do. We attach
Yep.
shame to it, not guilt. Guilt is very different. Guilt is very much a me thing. Shame is an outward thing that comes into you. So people say you should have been there, you could have done more. No, 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 no. During 2020, there was no more that you could have done at this point. But I think what it did for me was, and it also gave me this understanding of humanity that I never thought I always thought I had it, but I didn't have it. Because what happens when you are stuck together, people learn if they really love that marriage. They learn if they really love that sport. They learn if they really love to cook. You learn if you really love to shop. These all these different outward things that we thought, these tangible things that we wanted to touch,
Yeah.
that didn't really bring us any kind of happiness at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing that in any moment, there are painful, horrific lessons in it, and then there is growth and transformation in just like divorce, right? So you can choose to look at it and focus on all of the pieces that hurt because they both 2020 and divorce both suck at certain times. There was a lot of pain in both of them. There's a lot of fear in both of them. It
Mm-hmm.
was one of the other biggest things that fear really controls both those decisions, deciding if you can stay in a marriage or if you need to go, and being able to understand what you could or couldn't do when COVID fears were everywhere, right? Your sense of security is what is being attacked when fear rules the roost. When it's on the news, when it's in your face, when it's everywhere, it is your sense of security. It messed with our money. It messed with our ability to see people. It messed with our ability to just be who we wanted to be. All of that was taken away. And all three of those are also adjusted
Mm-hmm.
when you go through a divorce. You've got to
Mm.
redefine the friends and the family. You
Woo.
redefine money issues. You redefine where you're living. You redefine everything as little as my ex. He worked like a morning shift using like grocery stuff. So he did like the 4:30 a.m. was done at 2 or 3 or whatnot. He always made dinner. Lord, did I miss that. I still miss that. Like the fact that I have to cook again. I'm like, no, I don't want to. Can I just come home? He would have like oven roasted chicken ready all the time. It was delightful, right? All these little things have to get redone. And you know what the beautiful flip side of that is? I got to eat what I wanted to eat. I really loved, like lemon chicken or chicken piccata, right? It's one of my favorites. My ex
Mm.
hates it. We never ate it because he always made dinner. And I remember this moment a friend was coming over and I was going to make dinner for the two of us because he was helping install a new toilet that I couldn't get in by myself. And I was like, "What do you want to eat?" And he's like, "Well, just pick what you want to eat." And I didn't know what to pick because it hadn't been a choice. So divorce will rewrite something as simple as your food choices. And you can look at it and be upset that now I don't have a, quote unquote chef at home, or excited to be like, I get to pick my own stuff now. I get to write my own rules when it comes to this aspect of my life.
I love that. And I always, when I'm talking to someone who's either going through a tough time or they're going through divorce, infidelity, like what are the lessons that you can learn? What are the positive lessons? Like tell me about something good that happened out of this because I know that we could talk for hours about the bad things that happen. We really can. But we have such a hard time identifying what goodness looks like, what kindness looks like, what gentleness looks like, what patience looks like when you're going through something like that because not only not only is it life altering, as you said, but it's the little nuances that you didn't even know that you needed. It's the person who always picked up the toilet paper, paper towels, paper cups, things like that, versus the person who may have always gone shopping and didn't need to think about those things. So you get home with all the food, but now you're like, so what are we going to eat this on? It's
Yeah.
the little things like that. But also, like you say, then you get to redecorate your house. You get
Yeah.
to change the way you see things. But sometimes it's also realizing that you were holding on to someone neither one of you were serving each other. Like you were going to be better off as somebody who had memories versus somebody who brought those memories down. You started tainting the good memories with the bad energy that you were attaching to that person's name.
Yeah, and you need to be able to find the good pieces. And
Mhm.
I was guilty of not being able to find the good pieces. Naturally, you can do any of the little corporate behavior test patterns, astrology, whatever. So your strength finders or what color are you or what number are you, human design, any of them. And everything in every cell of my being is about finding the way that we can be better, which is why it's great that I found the job that I've created for myself. But when that comes to a relationship or a partnership, it's a constant, we can do something better. We can improve this. We can do this more efficiently. We can do this faster. We can do this less expensive, right? Which meant that what I saw was all the places that he wasn't doing what I wanted him to do. And until we separated, I didn't see it. And it was
Mm.
such a huge lesson for myself. I remember going
Mhm.
back to him and apologizing. And I said, "You know what? I just want to say I'm sorry that I couldn't see it and I didn't see it. And I want you to know that now I see it. And I'm grateful that you did the things, like mowing the lawn. I constantly was, "You're not doing it right and you need to do it differently." Instead of just being grateful somebody was doing it for me. And we all get stuck in that. And it's one of the biggest things that if you're sitting in a place where you are unhappy in your relationship, that is the one thing I want you to leave and start doing. Make a list of the things that you do really appreciate about the person. Now, the first time I did this about my now ex-husband, I couldn't come up with 10. It was hard. I was running around, well, he makes me dinner and he mows the grass. And I could not come up with anything else. And so my blinders were on to any of the things of service that this other person was actually doing for me. And it's
Mhm.
where we all go wrong in
Mm,
relationship. So
yeah.
hit the pause button and write out a list of, what are you grateful that they're doing for? What do you see them doing that you can appreciate? You might not love it yet. That's okay. We are not preaching about go be toxic and fake it. Toxic positivity is
No,
faking it.
please don't do that to yourself.
Stand where you're at and be
Mhm.
like, "You know what? I'm really glad he didn't piss me off tonight." Winning. I will take that on the list. Put it on the list, right? Think back to when you first met. What did you really love about that person? Those things are most likely still there, but they're hidden under years of resentment and judgment and overwhelm because, again, we didn't clean up our own side of the street and we put it on the other person.
Yes, and just remember, as we spoke about earlier, we all change, right? Think about how often you change your hair. Think about how often you change your wardrobe. Think about how often you want to change your car, right? And all of us find new interests, we find new hobbies, we find new friend groups. When you change jobs, it changes the way the culture that you're used to, it changes the community that you're used to being around. And that happens within your relationships. We're human. We're supposed to grow. We're supposed to change. We're supposed to evolve. You should not be the same person that you were at 18. That is just not it. And if you fell in love at 18, when you're 28, it's going to look so different. 38, it looks so different. And some of that is life's experience. Some of that has to do with maturity. Some of that has to do with the fact that there are some things that we have at 18 that we don't need anymore, right? Because we're not trying to show that we can be strong anymore. When you're 38, you're not trying to prove to people that you know something. You're like, I know it, and that's it. You're trying to prove to people like, hey, these knees still work. Okay. I am not having night sweats, people. I can still press 100 and my
Right.
back doesn't hurt in the morning. These are things that you're trying to like
Right?
prove to people. Like,
True. I'm
you
laughing
know,
because my one friend loves to dance and she's like, my knees don't love to dance
they
anymore.
don't.
She's like, I know I can go dancing, but I'm gonna regret it for a few days afterwards. It's true. You continue to change, you learn new things, right? You see new things. Your entire life is built on experiencing things that are teaching you what you want more of or what you learned you want something different of. But
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that you have to always go restart somewhere else. And one of the big times that they try and tell us we have to restart is infidelity. And we've brought it up a few times, but we haven't really talked about it. And my story did have infidelity in it. And I chose to forgive him and choose to try and work on it. And I think that that is it's one of the black and white rules that society will tell you if this happens in a relationship, then you have to walk away or you don't value yourself. And the amount of shame I had after, so I waited for 2 years. We stayed separated for 2 years while I continued to try and motivate him or show him that there was something worth saving. And when
Mm,
I finally filed, I was like, "So it's something's missing. This is not it. It's gonna be a chapter, not the whole book." And I'm
mm,
okay with that.
mhm,
The shame that I felt over trying to fight for something, over choosing to see that there were really good things in the past, and it's worth putting in the effort because two people are never the same. We continue to grow and evolve, and we both made mistakes. So, can we fix it? And that is one of those moments that people hide, and it's one of the times when we really need the most support of, "Hey, you can do whatever you wanna do." But you've gotta learn from it. You've gotta create better boundaries. You've gotta understand what do you really need. Or maybe, there's lots of relationships where they don't care. It's more open. They don't care if the other person has somebody else, but they have strong communication. And it's the communication and the not blaming that will set you up for success on moving through kind of any of the big challenges relationships bring up.
yes, I love that. And I also have dealt with infidelity. And I think that for me, one of the stances that what infidelity taught me was I did not have a really nice glass house. I thought that my house was clean. Every window was put together so nicely. How dare that happen to me? But what it really proved to me was that the boundaries that I thought I set, I when I said set it and forget it, I really forgot them. Like I just I left them suckers in the back. Like they were in the closet all the way in the back, dust it off, open up the box. It's still not there. I don't know where they went. But
Yeah.
but what I knew when I went through that was I didn't take any shame to myself. I said, this isn't about me, right? But that's a lot of work you have to do for yourself because
A
a lot of
ton.
the times you're going to think that it's about you, right?
Yes.
But I knew that it wasn't about me. But that's because I had already been working on getting myself to a place where I felt secure in who I was in decision making the decision making that I was making. I knew that me on the inside, I wouldn't do this to somebody that I love. So let me not take on that shame, right? But I felt guilty because I didn't protect myself. That's
Yes.
what I had, right? And I think that what infidelity does is that it erodes your ability to feel protected by yourself until you rebuild that lane again. Because you're like,
Yes.
well, I should have seen that happen. Why should have you like my therapist asked me one day, he said, listen, if it's not something that you would do, why would you be looking out for it? I said, sir, did I pay you to talk to me like this? Did I pay? Remember when I sent you my dollars, it was so that you could cuddle me. Like, and he did not. He smacked me in my
No.
face the whole session. I mean, by the time I was done, I was like,
Right. But I had to learn the lesson that it wasn't about me. When I found out that my ex was cheating, I was at my heaviest weight. My dad had
mm,
died shortly before, so I was not in a good headspace. I had a
mhm.
young toddler at home. My job wasn't what I had expected. Kind of all the pieces, the things that they tell us are the fairy tales of life, they had all fallen apart.
Yeah.
Buying a house and having a husband wasn't what it was supposed to be, and I was overwhelmed from a kid, and my two dogs were fighting all the time. One got to go live with my mom, who is now alone, and that worked out beautifully, but it was really painful.
Yeah. That's fur
And
babies.
yeah, and so I was not in a confident place when it happened. And it
I
was
was
that
not in a
he
confident place either. I just knew it wasn't my fault. Let's just
yeah,
clear that up. I just knew it wasn't my fault. But
right?
I was not confident. I was crazy.
Well, welcome to the club. No. So and when it happened, she was 20. She's 15 years younger than us. She didn't have any kids. She had
Mm.
long blonde hair. She was out drinking all the time, and I was exhausted crying myself to sleep. So it took a really, really long time for me to know that the infidelity had nothing to do with me, and it had to do with his inability to deal with his own feelings. So in my situation, right? Nobody sets out and's like, "Oh, today I just feel like cheating." No, today hurts and I feel like not feeling the hurt anymore. So I'll entertain myself by scrolling on Reels, and then I'll entertain myself by going out for a few drinks, and then I'll entertain myself by the guys and I going out for a few drinks. And each one of those little dopamine hits, eventually over time, it doesn't do it anymore. And so the thing gets bigger and bigger and bigger, where they're reaching for some external feeling to fill the hole that they have on their inside because they're just not doing the work to fill it themselves. And when I figured that out, that I was like, oh, this has nothing to do with me, has everything to do with his ability to deal with his own stuff. It also enabled me to extend grace, which I was laughing. One of my reels today talked about how I had to work with the other woman for years. She threatened not to return my child. She threatened not to allow any sort of communication. She did all sorts of stuff because she was unhealed herself.
Mm.
But I chose to extend grace in the situation
Mm-hmm.
because people are not perfect and we all make mistakes. And if we could just give everybody 2% more grace, somebody cuts you off, take a deep breath. Who cares? Let them go by, right? Somebody does something rude. Okay, yeah, that hurts. That sucks. And can we just have a little bit more peace around us? And it would change everything. We'd all win.
Yes.
We'd all win.
Absolutely.
Um, but that was a really hard lesson, and
Yeah.
I stuck to it. It became well, what it taught me was that extending grace is one of my core values. People can do horrendous things. I can extend grace that they are struggling, and I create boundaries that protect myself. I don't stay in places that disrespect me anymore. I don't stay in places that don't meet me where I'm at. I don't have
Mhm.
to beg for love or acceptance or friendship because at the end of the day, when it's just me, I'm still happy. So I don't need somebody else, but I can still extend grace. I don't have to spread more hatred or fear. I don't have to let my wounds bleed onto somebody else. Or there was a comment today somebody had left a guy, he got hurt. Oh, he got hurt bad, and he was talking to the podcast post as if it was the woman who hurt him.
It get
And
wicked out there. It get wicked.
oh, I was like, "Ooh,
I didn't do
somebody
it, sir. I
Somebody
didn't.
tr he's like, "You are da 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 da," on the keyboard, and I'm like, "You don't know me, that's real opposite," and I was like, "Somebody hurt you so bad that you can't even see that there are other people out there." And so, yeah, it hurt and yeah, it sucked. And I'm so grateful to have found this space where I can fall back into that and be like, okay, can I extend a little bit more grace while also creating a boundary that protects myself? I don't have to change the world. You don't have to change, but I don't have to be around you if it doesn't feel good.
I agree with you. And I always advise people, I'm like, listen, you don't have to take my advice, right? Because one, I usually don't give out relationship advice, okay? Because I'm winging it. I just need y'all to know that I'm winging it as well, all right? I'm really working very hard on building me and creating good spaces for me and creating healing spaces for me and being gentle with myself and trying to create this like this patience bridge, right? Because I feel like when I'm patient with myself first thing in the morning, by the time I get in the car, if I'm patient with myself for where I'm going, when I get in front of other people, I have this fountain of patience that I can build up that doesn't make me snap at you the first time you ask me a question. Versus if I'm frustrated when I first wake up, I'm frustrated in the car. By the time I get through that door, the person who gets it is gonna get it. But that's also in your relationship. And when infidelity happens, I want you to stop and give yourself a hug. Like, I know it feels crazy, right? But like, hug yourself, tell yourself your inner child, because you have to remember all of these wounds are going to come up. It's not going to just be the person who hurt you in front of you. It's every person who ever hurt you, whoever made you feel like they weren't there for you, whoever made you feel insecure. All of these things are going to come up. And I want you to ask yourself, is any of those things something that you could have fixed in 5 minutes? Any of those things that you could have corrected in the 5 minutes that you thought about it? Because yes, hurt people, but sometimes ignorance is bliss, right? I didn't know that I was hurting you like that. I didn't, when I didn't mean to do it. All of those things are just excuses for them to figure out where they are in their lane. So you stay in your lane. How can I help me trust me again? How can I help me not feel ashamed? How can I help me not feel guilty? How can I help me open back up to people? I statements. These are the spaces that I think Erica and I can agree on. When you're working on yourself, when you're healing your spirit, healing your soul, healing your emotions, working on your mental health, working on your physical health, and working on your financial health, because when your finances are fucked up,
That's stressful.
that divorce, that infidelity, it feels like the burning bush.
Yeah. It does. Yeah, and it is, again, one day, one step at a time. I
Right.
can't stress enough that, you have a lot of old momentum going, and that's why things happen so fast. I'm the same way. I'm fiery and I'm fast, and if I don't remind myself, like, "Slow down, be present," I had to create a rule. I'm not allowed to walk and look at my phone at the same time,
Well, see,
which
you created a
means
rule. I just fell. And I had to stop.
yeah, but, I was like, "I'm not present. I'm not present in the moment," and multitasking actually brings me more, like, tension feelings, and then I'm short and I'm frustrated. So I was like, oh, if I'm walking down the street and I need to text somebody, either I have to voice dictate it, but ideally I step to the side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't stand in the middle of the sidewalk and disrespect everybody else around me who is trying to get their shit done too.
And get
Step
mad. Why did you hit
aside.
me? I didn't mean to hit you. Where do you want me to go? This booty
Yes.
ain't walking past you by itself. Like,
Right? Again, this like 2% grace. Like just be a little bit aware, but get present, slow down,
mm-hmm.
figure out the systems that work for you, but build it as often as needed. In some of the peak times when I was really trying to rewire the thoughts in my mind because they
Mm-hmm.
were going
Mm-hmm.
constantly. I set a reminder on my phone every hour. The little alarm would go off, and it was enough to remind me to take 5 deep breaths to get present again. Okay, a quick, easy get present. Look for 5 things around you that you can attach with your senses. What do I see?
Mm-hmm.
What do I hear? What do I feel? What do I smell? Right? Do that. Take 5 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, because we want to breathe in through the nose to relax and exhale to release the tension. And that's it. Takes what, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe. But I had to set a reminder every hour because I could walk those old paths of unworthiness and hurt and fear and worry and pain instantly. I could walk
Mm-hmm.
them all. I didn't have to give them any more attention. They were running the show. But if
Absolutely.
but if I wanted to take back control, it meant that I had to create these little systems. So I used my phone all the time. My screensaver became a reminder of what I needed to be grounded in that week, a picture, a statement, a saying. And when you can no longer tell me, like right now, I can't tell you what's the screensaver on my phone, which means I need to put a new one up there because I'm no longer present when I look at my phone. I'm no longer seeing my phone and being like, oh, happy moment. This just helped me tap into that good dopamine hit. Instead, I'm like, I got to get the thing done. I got to answer the phone. I got to do whatever. Change the picture.
Or take
Use
a
the
nap.
tools around you. Yeah, we're taking I do. Naps are the thing. You guys, we think that we don't need them after we're a toddler. Naps are the best medicine you can ever find. You wake up reset. You've stopped the thoughts that you were thinking when you wake up. Choose to take 30 seconds to say, oh, I feel really good. And I love how the light's coming in. I love how my pillow feels or my sheet feels, or oh, this feels so good. I can do it now. And then restart your day.
Yes, I love that. And mine's are when I first thing I wake up, I do my affirmations in my
Mhm.
head. I think my body, and I literally start from my head all the way down to my feet.
Love it.
Thank you so much for my arms moving. Thank you for letting me wake up because this could be a different reality, right? I mean, we just make the assumption that we're supposed to wake up. That is not given. Like every
Yeah.
day is not promised. And it sounds morbid sometimes, but I really need you to understand that there are people who wake up and they can't see again. People who wake up, they can't move their arms. Just fluke things that happen in life and we can't control those things. But I love first thing in the morning showing appreciation to the body that didn't have to do because
Yeah.
it's not, it doesn't have to always do that. But also then think in my mind, thank you for clarity because clarity is like, it it creates it creates the safe space to have patience and kindness and to guide yourself, because if you don't have clarity, you don't have patience, you're not present, you're thinking about the thing that didn't happen or the thing that could have happened or the thing that would have happened. And I loved it was a gentleman, he said anxiety is your mind creating a movie that you don't like, a horror movie that you don't like. And I said, oh, I used to create those like 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I could pop out an anxiety movie before you talk
Right?
about it.
Well, and you're in anxiety because you are future tripping.
Yes.
You are worried about something that has not happened yet. And so the moment your mind, my mind was good at that movie, at that path. And then
Whew.
I just had to be like, oh, hold on a second. Is that true right now? Right
Right
now,
now.
in this very, very moment, is that true? Oh, that's not true? Okay. I can figure out an answer before that becomes true.
Can I change it in
I
five
can do
minutes, people?
something.
Can I change it
Yeah.
in 5 minutes? The next 5 minutes, am I going to be able to pay off my car, pay off my house, make sure that my child becomes a scholar, change my hair, make it to get my nails done, and make cookies in the next 5 minutes?
Be fantastic though. I could take some cookies right now. That sounds
Look, I'm
delightful.
not allowed to eat after 8 o'clock, but my God.
Me neither. What the heck? This is getting old. Sucks.
So you know what? I tried yesterday, I called myself sneaking to have a half a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay. Listen, it wasn't even anything deep. All right. At like 4 o'clock in the morning, my stomach's like, we don't like this. I'm like, but
Right?
it's peanut butter and jelly. Like, what? It's okay, but my knees feel better. So so I'm just gonna take what I can get. Plus, I'm in the middle of perimenopause. So, I will take the stomach over a hot flash in a heartbeat. Just
Yeah, so you probably are reading the Galveston diet because that is too what I was just reading about intermittent fasting. And I mean, the reality is we just need less inflammation. We have talked this whole show about how to create less inflammation in your mind. Your food creates inflammation too.
absolutely.
And mine does the same thing. So if I'm not moving my body, that builds inflammation. If I'm eating unhealthy and I crave crap foods when I'm really, really stressed, I know that I'm emotional eating when I need the cookies and I like to eat my like cheater way of chocolate covered pretzels or just the bag of pretzels and chocolate chips because you always have those two things in the
Welcome to
house.
my space sister. And
Yeah,
every now and again, I'll drop in like some almonds to feel like I'm doing.
right? I do that too. It's all the protein of the almonds. It's healthy for
It
us.
cancels out the carbs.
Yeah, but I know that like the blessing, I hated it my whole life, but the blessing is the moment I eat that stuff, my face gets I flush my fire nature. I get pink undertones
Mm,
badly, like red almost. And so I just know I'm like, "Oh, you've had too much coffee. You're not supposed to really be doing coffee. You've had too much fried foods. It's showing up in your skin. I used to hate it, and now I'm like, "Oh, thank you, body. You just let me know that I'm heading down a path that I don't want to be on." I wanna be my best, calmest self
yeah.
because then you're also living in that state of love and appreciation.
I love that, and you're so right. I try not to have I'm getting older conversations, not because I'm afraid of aging. I actually think that the older I get, the better I look and the better I feel mentally, which
Me
then
too.
helps me feel better physically.
Yeah.
But I still say I don't know why my knees decided that it needed to do what it wanted to do, but I'm 2 years from 50 and I get what it's saying. I understand that it said
Right?
we're past that place now, Lee. We don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But I think that that's also what we can attach to any like our relationships, right? If you're getting older, if you're causing inflammation in your relationship by not having good communication, that because I can promise you that majority of the issues that I've had in my relationship, and I've honestly, knock on wood, had a fairly decent run at this, fairly decent, right? Communication, lack of understanding, or not wanting to understand,
Mm.
intentional ignorance to a situation, or realizing that something was hurting me. And if it's hurting me, why isn't it hurting you? Like, why it should be hurting you too, instead of realizing, like, oh, it's a my thing, it's a me thing, it's a I thing, a myself thing. Oh, mm, I don't like it. So you're the problem now.
Well, it's so much easier that way, but that's not the truth. It is your own problem. Just like battling the food right now. He doesn't have a problem eating whatever he wants. I do. So I'm like, why can't you cannot eat dinner at 8 o'clock at night? Dinner has got to be at 6. This is the way it rolls now.
No,
So
suffer.
I just make sure I'm taken care of, right? We just do what you got to do. It's like finding I was talking to a friend and I was saying, I just have to figure out what the systems are that I need to create for me so
Hmm.
I can continue to flow with whatever else he's gonna show up with in his own systems.
Yes.
So, he's my partner is kind of the exact opposite of me. It's probably why I liked him. He's real laid back. I'm a workaholic, right? He's real like, let's just eat and drink and do whatever we want. I used to be 6 days in the gym. And he's like, "I don't do the gym. I'll play sports. That's fun." We're talking about like the opposites of everything. And that could irritate me to death. And it could be the thing that breaks us, or it can be the constant reminder of like, oh, Erica, you're working too late. You put in too many
Yeah.
hours. And guess what?
Yeah.
When I work too late and I put in too many hours, I'm exhausted and then I'm short and then I have inflammation in my system. So then I reach for crappy food to eat
Yes.
and I don't get to the gym and it all starts over again.
Yes.
So it really is just about balance
It
and
really,
seeing your side. Take care of your side and then you have more to give everybody else.
yes. And what I appreciate about your message, it's not just owning your own shit because you have to. We absolutely have to own our own shit. But it's understanding how owning your own life, owning your own healing, owning your own journey really then creates this, it creates so much more fresh space, so many more safe spaces for people who are trying to connect with you, right? Because if I'm trying to connect with someone and they're in a negative space, what's going to happen? I'm either going to feel offended because it has to be about me. It's never, usually 90% of the time, you have nothing to do with what's going on in their life, especially if you just walk through the door. But but it's not about you. But we think, what did I do wrong? How can I be better? What, and then all these insecurities start to grow, and then resentment kicks in, and then you don't have the conversations, you don't connect. And now we're having a conversation where you were mad about toilet paper. Now we're saying how you don't you take me for granted, you don't love me, nobody cares about me, I'm always out here. And it's like, whoa, whoa. Did you want Scott's or did you want Charmin? Like, what? Which? What are we doing here? And it makes you feel like you're losing a little bit of who you are, your sanity, because you're like, why don't you see what I see, instead of addressing yourself and realizing that some of it, it really is you.
Yeah. And in those moments, I'm always asking myself, why does this really matter? What really is the issue behind the toilet paper? Or ours was whether the forks go up or down in the dishwasher, right? That's a common one too. Almost all
Toilet
relationships.
paper for me, is it flipped? Like, it's which side is
Up
it flipped, up
or
or
is it
down?
under? Yes, it's those little weird random things that we choose to fight over all the time. That's never the issue. It never is. It is something bigger. So look for the patterns. And then when you find the pattern, ask yourself, why does this really matter to me? What is
Mm-hmm.
at the core of this? I wanted to feel taken care of. And it's this little thing. If he noticed this little thing, I would really feel taken care of. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
communicate that. Don't
Yes.
communicate, you screwed up the toilet paper again. Communicate, I know this is so silly, but it matters to me. And
Yes.
if you could try and do it, and then at the same time, challenge yourself to let it go.
Yes. Or ask
Challenge,
yourself, that was my I don't usually do New Year's resolutions. I always have a big question that I ask myself. And this year's question was, is it me? Right? Because I think that when we step in a space where we keep trying to take on everybody else's emotions, everybody else's energy, right? Why does my ego need that? Why is my ego showing up? Why is my pride showing up to this space, right? Versus when you stop and say, is it me? Do I have anything to do with this? Was I the cause of this? Where do I stand in this? Is this even meant for me? Right? Then it pauses you because most of us don't want to be in trouble with the people that we love. We don't want that. But also it takes accountability for yourself. You're walking into a space that had nothing to do with you, and you make the assumption it has everything to do with you. Why do you need to be the center of attention? And if you need to be the center of attention, where did it start? Is it from childhood? Is it from a relationship? Is it from a teacher who told you that you weren't going to be good enough? Where did it start? So that then you can work on those things, because I think sometimes we make the assumption that because we are over 18, that the inner child in us is growing with us. No, when emotional things happen to you, you stop growing at that moment in that particular area. And if you never heal those wounds, you don't really get to walk. You have this like unstable foundation,
yep.
and that's what you carry into that relationship. As you said earlier, the baggage that you're carrying in, that unstable foundation that you expect your partner to be able to walk across, and they don't even know it's a landmine.
They don't know, right? And they probably don't know yours. So
Yeah.
everybody gets triggered. Everybody loses it at some point.
So that look, that's my spiel. I just tell people all the time, I want us
Yeah.
to get to a space where we learn how to ask ourselves transformative questions. I want us to know that even if we feel like the crazy ex-wife, we're still human. We're still great people
No, yeah.
It doesn't define us. The divorce does not define you. Infidelity does not
Mm-mm.
define you on either side.
No.
You get to recreate yourself. You get to reinvent yourself, rediscover yourself.
Mm.
And I just, Erica, I appreciate having this conversation because I love breaking stigmas.
Yeah.
I love when you can just shatter that ceiling, have those conversations, feel your feelings, give yourself grace and patience. And thank you so much for having those conversations with us because we need that. So again, just tell people where to find you.
Yeah, so you guys can find me at thecrazyexwivesclub.com. So we're also on Instagram and Facebook, the website, where else? TikTok's up, but I haven't been on there in a little bit. It's like a lot of places. But the main one I'd say would be Instagram. I also do an Instagram subscription, so then you can get live office hours with me and you can get your questions answered directly. And so you just need that little accountability partner. So thecrazyexwivesclub.com. But I'd love to have you, whether you're married or single or divorced or any of the spaces in between. If you really want to own your own transformation, I guarantee you'll take something away from the episodes every week.
I love it. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Don't sneak a cookie. Save it like me until we stop
No.
fasting tomorrow morning.
I know, I'm saving it because we're going on vacation this weekend. So
Ooh, have
oh my
fun.
God.
Splurge it out, girl. Splurge it out. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. You have a good one. Guys, did you enjoy Erica? Because I enjoyed Erica. She said, you better heal yourself so you can stop blaming other people. Now, listen, we all will go through trying times in our relationships. And I don't mean infidelity, I don't mean divorce. Every relationship that we're in, either we're not communicating well or we don't agree on something. Maybe we are growing and we're on different pages in the same chapter. Sometimes we're in different chapters in the same book. Sometimes we're not even in the same section. You could be in science fiction. I'm in exotic romance. Like, I like a little romance novel in my life. I'm going to tell you the truth. But what I loved about Erica's message was that forgiveness is okay. Taking care of yourself is okay. Self-care, okay. Awareness, okay. And really just owning your part of the world, right? Because when you feel healthy or when you feel happy or when you feel joyful, when you feel elated, when you feel sad, when you feel fearful, everyone around you is going to feel that, right? And creating these safe spaces for ourselves where we can talk about our emotions and we can learn how to express ourselves and we can let go of that shame which is put upon you and the guilt that we feel, which is something we give ourselves. We can become better, more healthier people in our relationships and with the relationships that we have for ourselves. I really appreciate you guys being a part of this podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, send a pigeon carrier with a little message at the bottom. I'll answer it. I'm just letting you know. And remember, we're learning to articulate our feelings, wants, needs, and desires so that we can better advocate for ourselves and the people that we love, because it is so important to have advocacy for yourself and the people in your life. You guys be good. Again, Darling Nikki, the artist, created these earrings. I was feeling all kinds of life with these. You guys be good. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you found some healing, connection, and joy. Until next time, bye, loves.